middle. Okay, so these are just a handful of pictures, again, with apologies because they're a little bit out of order. Wait, is this, have I done it backwards or forwards? Let's move this thing out of the way.
Are you coming or going?
That's right, I can't. Yeah. All right, I'm clearly coming, but I thought wait a minute. Let's hold. Let me start this over again. Let me just give me 1 second. I apologize.
Could you pass me one of those flyers? Thanks.
I'm so sorry. I'm not very good at this, obviously. All right, so here's the first. So, all right, so let's do it this way. Hopefully it'll work. Now I'll get back to sharing my screen, and then we'll be good. So, all right, so this is the beginning of this journey of my. Why is it? Everything is going so fast. You know what? Maybe does it automatically? All right, so this is us in a bomb shelter on the first day. Our only one time in a bomb shelter was the first day. It is what it is. And this is Hannah recording all the rocket alerts that happened on the first day. Like, these are all places which are not necessarily in downtown Tel Aviv. She's insane enough to get rocket alerts in any place in all of Israel. I would just put it on my phone when it was in the place that we were. But when you walk into the airport, you see the signs of all of the hostages lined up on the way in and out of the airport. And the reason you're going to constantly see, or I have a lot of pictures with this person, Eden Yerushalmi, and that's just because my wife's last name is Yerushalmi, and so we've kind of adopted her as our, cousin or something, just because of the same last name.
Rabbi, who put the pictures up? Was it
in the airport?
State of Israel or the hostage
State of Israel.
Rabbi, what's showing on the screen is just a picture of you at the airport.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Huh.
With the airplane behind you.
All right, so wonder why it's not, thank you. Hold on, let's try again. And let's try this again. I'm sorry that I'm finding this to be a little bit more complicated than I had anticipated, but all right, let's try it a different way. I have not yet begun to, I will not give up yet. So, let's see, it would be in Dropbox. Here we go. And Israel. Okay, so let's try this instead. Now, let's see. That's the last one, amongst the last one. I apologize. I'm trying. I'm really, really trying. Okay, so I'm just going to start doing this, and whatever happens, happens. So in any event, let me share the screen again. And then this is my last attempt at this.
I have an extra copy. Anyone who wants one should have it.
So amongst the many things that we did was again, I was given a fair amount of money from the members of the congregation to donate, and some of you from here did it. And if you did, I think I gave you your necklace already. Did I give you a necklace yet?
You gave me one yesterday.
Yesterday.
But not for
Yeah.
that.
You want one for Pathfinder? It's okay. You need one? You got one?
I got one. Cindy didn't get one.
All right. Unfortunately, I may not have. I had enough
That's
only
okay.
to give to one of each couple, but you guys deserve it. I didn't give you one, did I?
What is it?
It's a necklace for the people who donated to, here, take one also. It's the Bring Them Home necklace,
Thank you.
which is,
Actually, Pat's wearing one this morning.
yep, which is,
I'm gonna wear this one.
and so anyway, amongst the, you should know that it was not as easy to donate as I want to, because I tried to do it to worthy causes, or if I really saw a person who was in need or something like that. But we were busy also, and so I was trying my best, and I didn't want to over donate at a time and then run out, you know, and like, so you're careful at the beginning and then so anyway, one of the things we did was we bought shoes for displaced people, and you can see a fair number of shoes that we got
Wow.
for people. This is just
Did you buy them in Israel or?
Israel.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a shot of this is the Azrieli Towers, the three big, the tall buildings at this moment in Israel, even though there will be, what's that? Our class document? We have it right up there, printed right up there. Okay. So you can see the beautiful lit up Israeli flag on the side of one of these big skyscrapers. They have this very powerful poster because this is the poster for the hostages, but then there's one that says, you know, it could have been you.
It's interesting that they're all in English too.
What's that? And yeah, well, some of them are in English, some of them are Hebrew.
And that's a mirror?
Yeah, it's a mirror.
Okay.
So that's us taking the picture with our family. Yeah.
Okay.
And so one of the things that we did was we went to a farm on our first day there, or second day there, we went to a farm kind of slightly north of Tel Aviv. I think family was getting
What's he picking?
those are grape tomatoes.
Oh,
You see, it was pouring rain that day. You see, you remember those two rainstorms? Like, I know one of you were gone.
Tremendous wind and rain, yeah.
Oh my God! It was like Florida during hurricane season. So all of these farms are lacking any type of workers. By the way, on Zoom, can you see the pictures now?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, good. All of the workers that either were left or were killed, but and so there is a real lack of workforce in Israel for these types of jobs. So there's me and my cherry tomatoes. By the way, you're going to see mostly pictures. I try my best all the time to leave my family out of the temple stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's just me and you're wondering where is Hannah and the kids and all that stuff, it's just because I'm choosing not to show you pictures of them. Not because they're not dessert, just because.
I saw a picture of your son.
That's great. No, it's not about it. You'll see. They'll get in. I'm just trying to say it's not just me being so vain that everyone has to look at pictures of me. It's me trying to keep them out of it.
Rabbi, did you have these opportunities sort of set up in advance, or did you just
No.
look after you got to Israel?
Yes, and there's one picture in here which kind of shows you the method to our madness. But here we are at a place called the Hamal, which is a Hebrew word for war room, but it's where they had all the, it was more of distribution for stuff for displaced people, but also soldiers. And this is where I made my best contact, because I met this woman named Almog, who she and I worked together intensely and to buy stuff for soldiers and then to even deliver stuff for soldiers. And I met her here, thankfully. It hadn't met her, it would have been a real loss for the bigger picture of what we ended up doing. We were very lucky how we were able to. So anyway, just organizing clothes that will be just given to displaced people. Because people donate clothes and then you have to sort them into sizes. You can't just put a big mountain of clothes and say, okay, pick what you want. Rather, you at least need to do extra large, extra large, men's, women's, pajamas, underwear, whatever. And so, yeah, that's me moving a pallet. And building, someone donated their broken down IKEA bookcase. Right, and so it's tough enough to build these damn IKEA things when they're brand new, but when they've been pulled, ripped apart, and you're trying to it took 4 of us to just, all of the screw holes are just like yanked, and so we're making new screw holes. That was fun. So this was an exhibit. We did most of our stuff. We did was volunteering, but sometimes we did things which were half volunteer, half touring, and every once in a while we did touring. What I mean, by the way, not touring, but
Touristing.
like one day we went and sat on the beach and relaxed, because it was like we had been volunteering it was like tiring, and the kids were starting to complain a little bit. They needed a sleep in, go to the beach, so we had
Wait a-
yeah, and so meanwhile it wasn't like 90 degrees, it was 70 degrees, but it was still nice to just sit on the beach and read a book and listen to the water and stuff like that. But one of the other things we did, which I will refer to as half touristy, half volunteering, is we went to this exhibit called the Nova exhibit, which was an exhibit in Israel which showed and put all of the things of that a music festival, and they transferred it all to this warehouse and they set it up and then did an exhibit. You saw it too. It was extraordinary, right? Not graphic. In your mind it was graphic, but not
The cell phone conversations that they had were really
touching.
penetrating.
Touching. I have pictures of it that didn't show it. But anyway, and this is just a picture. We Will Dance Again. And the reason why it's because I'm pretty sure my little edition is up there somewhere, but whatever. Okay, this is a picture of when you would walk to. This is another example of not exactly volunteering, but not touring. We were walking back from some location and we came across well, thank you. And we came across a tent on the street, and this was just a community a school district showing all of the people. That map behind my head is a map of southern Gaza and the various different communities and how many people were killed and hostages and stuff like that for the school district. And so we just walked in and just met with these people and just because these are all families of hostages and just talked with them and just supported.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
Can I say one thing?
That's
about
the map, by the way.
About that Nova exhibit.
Mhm.
There was this part where they had all this shoes and wallets, and handbags,
Sunglasses and hats.
all this stuff. And there were two women there intently looking at one wallet. And I asked if they had some connection to that wallet. And one was a volunteer. She said no, she was a volunteer. The other woman was the mother of the kid who owned that wallet.
Oh my God.
And she didn't want to come in and get it. So she was there to try to find it. And she did find it. So it wasn't just an exhibit. It was a little practical.
Get your stuff back.
Find your stuff.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So, wow.
The exhibit of shoes at the Holocaust Museum.
Similar, but this when you walked into a campsite and you saw tents and you saw sleeping bags and chairs that were knocked over because this was how they found the space when they came. After all was said and done, and they just tried to recreate it back and put everything back exactly as they found it in this new exhibit hall. So it was meant, yes, to be provocative and the shoes and everything, but it was also meant to literally recreate the scene at 6 hours later.
Is this a permanent exhibit?
I think they took it down just on January 1st, which is a shame because it was powerful. Again, it was not graphic at all.
Is this the music festival thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is not a music festival. Rather, it's the easiest way to describe it, but it's really like more of like I don't want to call it, it's like a Woodstocky kind of a thing in which it's
part of the Burning Man community.
Yes, Burning Man, in which it's all about their trances that they go into and stuff like that. It's fascinating. It's beautiful. It's very touching.
Yeah.
Very
But
touching.
you just can hardly imagine it wasn't graphic at all, but it could have been because it was so horrific. What happened there.
It could have
so
been.
awful.
The most graphic thing you saw were bullet holes in the porta potties, which they did. Is the porta potties that they used. They brought them in. That was very graphic for me. But again, mostly it was use your imagination graphic.
And it really just make you mad walking around there.
Right. And also the pictures of these people who are just such innocent, kind, sweet people who are just having fun, loving each other and getting murdered. So this is the same picture of me in that, just talking with these families from that community. This is a famous picture of me at the shopping mall. You see, because this person that I met in that warehouse, I had said, give me a list. What do we need for the soldiers? And she said, we need X, Y, Z. And there were various different ways to do it. The best way was for me just to say to her, okay, here's $2,000. Let's call whoever you can call and get a good price for these things. And that was the best way to do it. However, Hannah wanted, and it was meaningful for me to actually do some of the shopping ourselves. And so we went to the mall.
Everybody speaking Hebrew?
Yeah. And they're finding out what it is that I'm doing. Because they're wondering, why does this person have a basket full, 75 packages of underwear and you know all these batteries and these socks. Like it's kind of a weird, you know, shopping cart. So they find out why, and now everybody is now hearing about this, and you can, and they're all saying, you know, the first one is, you know, the cashier says, okay, do you have you know, a card, you know, for the you know, discount card? No, and they're all like, use mine, and then the next thing is they're, you know, giving me credit cards and stuff, and I'm like, in any event, bags of stuff, and then delivering it to, it's a bad picture, I'm going to get a fathom for. Hannah hates that picture, but that's the,
You delivered it?
no, that's, well, yes, but that's us bringing it to the distribution center to be organized, and then it'll go out to delivery. So this was another volunteering we did. This one is the most intense, exciting, and also the most miserable experience I've ever had. And that is everyone on this group is picking clementines. And how cute, because so much of this, by the way, they're always looking like Clementine, or picking my strawberry, right? And they're like, we need some people to do something else. Sure, I'll go help. And they basically have a whole field in which all these new young clementine trees are weeded over and they're not growing. And so they needed people to weed.
Oh, God. My
And
favorite thing.
that was me, my back leaning over the weeding. It was brutal, but I did it. Weeding.
Who's taking the pictures, Hannah?
No, or one of my kids maybe, or Hannah. There would be more weeding pictures in a moment. Again, they're out of order, but apologies. This is one day. We did 2 days of volunteering at this vegan restaurant. The Army did with you know 5 times the number of soldiers that they normally have, were not prepared for the various different cooking that they needed to do for this, and so this vegan restaurant was providing food for all vegan soldiers, and there I am in the middle of chopping sweet potatoes. Now, again, sorry, it's out of order. You just have to accept it. This is the site of the Nova Festival. And as you can see, they just have pictures of everyone who was either killed or taken hostage. Wow. It's so powerful, I can't even begin to explain it to you. And if you remember, like those pictures of you know the like that image of the girl being taken hostage on the motorcycle on the back of the you know the scooter, and then her boyfriend being walked out with handcuffs on, and you know, or with his arms tied behind his back. It's like you can, behind those trees is the road that was, like that image that you probably remember. And then there's Eden Yerushalmi again, our adopted niece, and Hannah standing with Eden, because yeah.
Are they related at all?
No.
Do you know?
Well, I mean, they both have the same last name, so there's probably a better chance that they're related than maybe you were related with Hannah. But but that's we don't know. We don't have any connection yet. Here is just a bigger, wider shot of like the various different picture of people. It's like that's me with my jaw dropped. You
Were
can't see
there a
my
lot
jaw
of
dropped.
people there?
There were probably about 40 people or 50 people, 40 people there. That's round 2 of us, second day of us making food. We were there twice. This is a misleading picture, by the way, and I'll admit to it. It's misleading because there's nothing misleading about it. Section B is completely empty because no flights are coming. That's where every international, you know, like all the other carriers would be in terms of check-in. But if I intentionally didn't put A in the camera, and that's El Al, and it's crowded. So it's not that the airport is empty, it's just that side of the airport is empty. But that's a striking picture for anyone who's been there before and doesn't travel on El Al. But if you fly on Delta or United or Lufthansa or Air France or British Air or whatever, then that would be the side you would recognize, and it's empty.
Is there any tourism going on?
None, no tourism.
Rabbi, one thing that really struck me about the airport and the air travel, as far as the sort of the theme is the same but really different, is that the airline magazine, which is ordinarily the most boring thing you could possibly read, was really interesting because it had a dozen or more El Al employees and why they weren't working for the airline now, because they were doing And then it would describe their job, which is, mine detonation or logistics or tank driver or all the things that they've been called up and how many of them were off doing that.
All El Al airlines have anti-missile defense. All El Al commercial airlines have an anti-missile defense.
Wow.
Isn't that incredible?
Wow. It's so sad it's needed.
Yeah. All right. So continue with these. This is when we first arrived, and the picture of the shelter, and that is a new thing in Israel. Not staff shelters, not new at all. But what's new about it is that you have regularly if people are talking about it. Where's the nearest shelter? Google Maps now. If you open up Google Maps, it like spotlights bomb shelter on the map. So all you had to do is open your Google Maps, and you knew where the closest shelter was. That was the shelter in our hotel. First day is in the weight room or the exercise room. In Tel Aviv, they have something called Hostage Square, Kikar HaChatufim, and lots of things happen in that day. Oh, a picture of Gold Star beer, but with the in Hebrew it says Yachad Nenatseach. That means together we will win. And it's on the 6-pack of Gold Star beer. That's the warehouse. Sorry, it's all out of order, but me building the shelf again. That was us leaving, going to Israel for the first time. Us coming into Israel, and when you walk in, see the signs on the right-hand side, all the pictures of the hostages. That's what you're both sides, left and right. That's what you're greeted when you walk in. Person after person after person. Is
it that deserted? Is it as deserted as it looks?
Yeah. Because, at that moment, one flight was coming in. The one from, it's us. Maybe a second flight, right? El Al is not like Delta or Turkish Air, which is just this absolute, web of flights. El Al it has to America, it has, a day, 12 flights to America a day, maybe fewer. And, it has to European cities, maybe to London, it's got 2 or 3. In France, it's got 2, maybe 1 or 2 a day. And to every other city, it's got 1 a day. So, El Al has maybe 100 flights a day. I don't know the numbers. So
You went out of Newark?
No, we went out of JFK, but maybe 100 flights a day. And so it's, it's only because it's just not as so it's many fewer people. It's just striking. There's Eden again. Everywhere you go, you see the posters. Everywhere, Tom. Everywhere you go, the posters of the people who are missing. Everywhere. You cannot walk 10 feet. Maybe that's an exaggeration. 20 feet without seeing another. Bring them home. We win. We're all in this together.
They amended them for the hostages that were returned. Correct?
The pictures, they would take down the faces. Everywhere you go, there's bring them home on the wall. Everywhere you go. Machzirim otam habaita achshav. Return them home now. It's just a random little restaurant. Everywhere you go. Graffiti, yachad ninatzeach. Together we will win. Oh, that's back at the department store that I mentioned. Again, dragging underwear. This is in a place called Hostage Square. They have a table with the name with the various different hostages, and it's like a table for them to with that they just keep set all day long. Back to the tomatoes. We didn't do tomatoes twice. Just again, the pictures are out of order. But just oops. Here was the owner of the farm who, is happy to have the people help. This is Hannah and me getting on the news in Israel. Here's next one. Sderot evacuated.
How did you get around Israel?
public buses, except for one day in which we drove. We got it, rented a car. Okay, so Kfar Aza, 7 kilometers ahead. Kfar Aza now to the right, just there. Nachal Oz, which was one of the other ones that was destroyed, and the border crossing. Re'im, which is where the music festival was. Near Oz, Nuts, Given Blood. That was okay. So this is a picture of this. Sarit sends us a post email saying there's this one guy who is from the north, and he's and he opened up he's a restaurant owner, but he opened up a small restaurant in Tel Aviv, a few months earlier, and no one's coming, and we need to support his restaurant. So we went to his restaurant. That's us at the department store. That's Jonah Helfman, who is the kid who was on our Zoom call 3 months ago when we did that thing here. That's Shabbat dinner at this family's house who invited us over to their house for dinner, and they live on the border of or right near Gaza.
They live on the border of what?
Gaza, not on the border, 15 kilometers away. This is a vending machine. What's interesting about this vending machine? I'll tell you. Next to, there's looks like it's Meats, Tapuz orange juice. Here's Coca-Cola, and here's a yahrzeit candle with the matches on top of it. There's just a struggle, like we're looking at this, like, you can get a yahrzeit candle at the Coke machine. We went to a funeral for a soldier while we were there, and at the cemetery. Here's the cemetery, right?
Mount Herzl?
No, in outside Tel Aviv. It was there he is, the soldier kind of coming in on this. It's very touching. And this is have you ever heard of or you ever seen the images of the Agam fountain in Dizengoff? It's called Dizengoff Square, and it's it's a big fountain. Long and short of it is, though, they've taken this fountain over and put various different pictures and symbols from October 7th, and this baby, the Kfir Bibas, just pictures of various different things and people and stuff like that. They're just all around. Oh, that's the fountain, right? That's me again after a few hours of weeding. I'm absolutely schwitzing in the middle.
How warm was it?
75 degrees. Yeah. That's us in a more cutting. That's me. Look at my arms. I got my arms are bloody from all of the bloody. It was tough. I had to get the shirt on at the end. I mean, you can see cartons and cartons of this is just one thing of clementines.
Pretty big farm.
Yeah, huge. And they've got no workers. This is this one family that invited us over for Shabbat dinner that I mentioned. This is the same family minus the husband who stayed with us about 2.5 months ago for a night. It was very powerful. So we became friends with them, and they invited us over for dinner. They found out we were in the country, and they said, come over. This is them that was the 13-year-old doing the Shabbat blessings. I love it when I just sit there and someone else does the Shabbat blessing.
Is that hummus?
Hummus or chamas? Hamas or hummus? That's
Hummus.
hummus. Yeah, that's.
Hamas.
This is just the family again. Again, everywhere you go, we want them back. Bring them back soon. This is at their version of Target getting supplies number 2. Faraza, what's that one say?
Rabbi,
Rafia border crossing. Yes, this is the.
did you encounter a lot of students in the orchards and helping? Yeah.
Yeah. This is remember I told you I met this one person who was extraordinarily helpful in terms of, her name is Almog. She was the the go-between between the soldiers and the Hamal distribution center. And so I worked very closely with her getting supplies for her. And she showed me we're at the Re'im music at the festival. And, you know, she has a cousin and an uncle who died. And that's her uncle. And the reason why her uncle was there, because he's my age, it's because his daughter was at the festival. And when he heard about it, he went immediately there and was killed on his way in to help her uncle.
Well, Rabbi,
Yeah.
also, it's worth noting that the way that we think of the Israeli military as being just like lavishly provided with provisions and every weapon and every advantage. And
Hardly.
it's not. I mean, if you have a case
You know
of
better than anybody.
socks, they need them. And just like it's dependent on, you know, like ladies like this who just volunteer to do stuff and for the rabbi to support
Right.
them. And,
Batteries.
Yeah.
Batteries. Headlamps. You know, like you hook to it just
Minor second.
like small, like things that you're the handyman has. You know, so when he's in, they need all these little things. They, as Tom points out correctly, like they have a lot of things in the army, but that doesn't mean that it's like the American, which is like go to see the person and just get yourself 4 new pairs of whatever. They don't have thermal underwear and it gets cold and they need them. So Tom, that's a great point. I appreciate you mentioning that. It is a sophisticated army, but especially when you triple the army, the size of the army in overnight, it got taxed hard.
And our granddaughter was getting donations for the socks.
Right. Yeah.
Several $1,000s.
Yeah. So again, I'll know kissing her uncle as we were about to leave in the picture, because it's like, and she's so cheerful all the time, and I'm like, and then I didn't know about this, and then I'm like, your uncle and your cousin both died here, and you've just been so cheerful with me every time we talk. It's striking. This was the beginning of us unloading cars and stuff like that, of all the stuff that we brought over.
How did you get it on the flight?
We didn't. We bought everything there.
Oh, okay.
And that was, remember when I said that, like I would say, here, she would say we need knives, right? Pocket knives. And and I would say, all right. She goes, and I think I know a good person who might be able to get them for us. She gets on the phone, she calls, and she's like, gives me the phone, and I'm like, yeah, here's my credit card. I want 10,000 shekels. You can spend 10,000 shekels. And then he would just because everyone's in together. No one's trying to screw anybody. We're all in this together, just trying to help our soldiers, right? And so they say, I'll put together the best, grab bag of things I can for the $2,500 you just gave. And I actually did that a few times. But you understanding? She just came up with a good supplier, and I said, here's the credit card, because she couldn't. But I had collected from you guys all this money, and I wanted to use it. Sometimes this happened, in which you just bought lunch for them. Right? It's like, and this guy fought me. He's like, no, you don't have to do that. I'm like, we really want to. Okay, so come on. I'm like, I'm not moving here until I pay. So he's like, all right. This sign, Kodem HaChatufim, first, the hostages. So they're clearly communicating, which is whether, some people say is it the hostages or the war, and that's the argument right now. It's a very hard decision, but that sign, but also there's Ed in Yerushalmi again, and this says Halev Shalanu Shavur, which means my heart's broken. Never again. Remember who asked how we made the plans? This way. Every day is on the top, and then we had everyone's scouring around looking. It is on the wall of the hotel room, and it's like we have ideas, and we want to do X and Y and Z. Here's some of the things, the Dizengoff fountain with all those pictures, or picking produce, going to Kibbutz Negba, going to Hostage Square, Sarah Meisenberg, cooking food, getting stuff at that store, army, going to the army base, going, like this was just, this is how we made it. We would find something and then we would say, let's put a post-it note and let's see where we can fit it.
Did you meet up with Aitana by any chance?
No, I spoke with him a few times, but never saw him. We missed each other like just by inches. We got in as he was leaving, and he had left a half an hour before. This is me washing dishes. That was whatever at that same vegan restaurant the second time we went.
Oh.
Look at this very graphic image: blindfolded, huge teddy bear with the Kfir Bibas picture on it. Our next door neighbors in our hotel were like, it's hard. You got a whole family living in a hotel room, and they have 4 kids in a hotel, small kids. And they're screaming, and you can tell that the parents are at wit's end, right? Because it's hard. Can you imagine being cooped up in a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom place with 4? I mean, it's crazy. In any event, we went out and got a bottle of wine, a bottle of whiskey, and a 6-pack of beer, and some candy. Needless to say, the candy was for the kids, and all the alcohol were for the parents. Oh, look who it is. Same jacket. We saw Tom there. This is the picture of a tent right in front of Hostage Square, which is that's in panorama mode. That's why it looks so weird. But it's just, you see all the it's just little various different signs and symbols of the people who were taken hostage, like that. A bench. Shomrim lecha makom. That's clearly lidechem avitar David, which means we're saving a place here next to us. I can't see the whole word, but I'm sure that's what it is. That's me again with that picture. At the time, that was how many days they had been in captivity. Again, that number is now, I think, 94 or 95 even, but that's where it was at the time I took the picture. That's that warehouse again. That's the funeral. Nachal Oz and the border crossing. Rafia border crossing. Kerem Shalom crossing. That's where the hostage would come through from Egypt.
What kind of negotiations are going on to get the hostages back?
I don't know. They always seem to break down.
Do they believe that the hostages are still alive?
I think they do.
What I saw last night on TV was they know where the head of Hamas is, but they can't get him because he's surrounded. No, not that guy. The one that's in
Gaza.
Yeah, but he surrounded himself with the hostages underground.
Possibly. Far Oz's signs. There's that. Here's at the train station, the huge sign with a chair. It says Hakisa Harik, the empty chair. It's everywhere you go, you see. We're just taking random pictures. Tom will tell you, everywhere you go, it's another one of these things. It's Israel. You would think if you couldn't read Hebrew and didn't watch the news, you would never know that there was something bad going on. And yet, if you do read Hebrew and watch the news, there's a dark cloud. In other words, the restaurants are opening up again. There seems to be some joy on the streets. But at the same time, there is like this dark cloud, which is hanging over everything at all times. So the base, when we deposited and brought those supplies, they took us on a little tour of the space, which was incredible. It was the same tour that Netanyahu got. Granted, Netanyahu got it 2 months ago, but we got the same tour. Here are some of the rockets that didn't detonate that they got from Hamas. This is all legit stuff, right? This isn't show. This is their supply. Look at all the backpacks and jackets and stuff that they amassed. Again, this is just that they found either when they imprisoned people or when they killed people or when they just found things were left or undetonated. This is just anything that they can get their hands on and bring in. The rifles. Here are the various different munitions, bombs and mines. These are magnetic bombs. They could just put up anti-tank. They walk up to a tank and put it up, and it sticks to the tank and can blow the
This
tank.
is all stuff from Gaza?
Yes, or stuff from Gaza, or stuff that was brought into Israel on that day that they came in. We're literally watching these soldiers do practice
Clearing.
going into they must have tried this maybe 7 or 8 times, and because they created on this base a whole, made it look like Gaza. So you can even see on the side of that wall, you can see a picture of like that's the whoever that is, the Ayatollah or some imam or something like that. They're trying to make it look the same way, and here they are practicing going into to a building, and also they have tunnels here that you could go into, and so they practiced infiltrating tunnels and stuff like that.
I guess what's so sad is why didn't they have this before?
They had all this before, but it was just a lapse of they just took their eye off the ball.
The tunnel network is amazing. If you see the size of those tunnels,
yeah,
they're not little crawl-through places.
No, they're not. No. We saw
like
there.
They're like subway tunnels.
Yeah. This is the container that we put a ton of stuff in the container. That's nice. All right, that's it. That's all my pictures. Also tough.
Incredibly moving, and it really makes it come alive in a way you don't get on any television.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, so I spent the first 45 minutes doing what I did on my summer vacation. Now we get to do a little text. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kachanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. We praise you, Adonai our God, for commanding us to busy ourselves on the words of Torah.
Amen.
Okay, so we're on chapter 48. Verse 21. For those of you who have my document, it's on page 106. We left off with Jacob blessing Joseph's 2 sons, and Joseph trying to have Jacob bless the older one first and the younger one second, but it doesn't work that way. Yes.
Can I ask a question about the possibility or probability of tourism coming back? Is that within the realm of reason?
Sure.
Within a couple of months?
Yeah, I think so.
Is your trip still going or not?
That's a good question. I think it's going to go, but it's going to be. Maybe I'm thinking about calling the tour operator and seeing about having a plan B, which is touring and volunteering. So so we'll see. I'm not sure, because here's the thing. If a person, and this is a good message, if a person is going to Israel for the first time and maybe the only time, right? I'm not so sure I would go, because first time and only time, because it's like you want to see the place and you don't want to not go to some places like the whole north because it's not safe, right? Because we're not going to do anything that's not safe. So we're not going to the north unless if we had a trip today, it's like the north's off limits. Anywhere north of Haifa means the whole Galilee is not going to the Golan. It's not, nothing, right? So if you're going for the first and only time to Israel, I wouldn't go, because you're not going to see it all, and it's going to be like. And now, granted, it'll be exceedingly meaningful. Like, my hope would be that you'll go and say, I feel so connected to this place that I want to keep going back again, over and over again. That would be my hope. But if it's really very possible that you'd never go back again just because of whatever the circumstances are, I would say wait a year so we can go and see everything. Now, for anyone who has been there before, it's like you should be running to go back right now. And the reason why is because they desperately need people to come back, A, for tourism, but B, more importantly for just support to see that we're all in this together. So if you can go to Israel and not feel like you must go to Masada or not feel like you must go to Sfat or the Golan Heights, then, like, because you've been there before and you don't need to see those places, then you should definitely be going, right? And so I think that the trip that we do this summer, which I'm now thinking more and more we are going to do, I think that the trip is going to be, and for those of you who can't go, I'm not, but like, so you'll have a deposit which will be used for the next one. I mean, it's not to say they'll be lost. It'll just be, everyone understands why people are choosing not to go. But yeah, I think that it'll probably be the most intensely extraordinary Israel trip that anyone will have ever been on. Because I know for me, like, again, I've been there how many times? I mean, we spent a month every summer there, and this was qualitatively a different trip than I've ever experienced ever in my life, and far more connecting trip than ever. Yes, Paul.
How many emails that they're okay in the north?
Yeah, she's in the kind of right south of the Kinneret Sea of Galilee, and that is kind of the furthest north. Like, she's in a pretty good, safe place. But if you go further north to Sfat, maybe Tiberias is okay too. But anything more than that, no, Tiberias is not okay. It's just a matter of time before that's a problem too. But so I think she's just on the edge, but she's on the southern side of the Sea of Galilee, which means kind of the southern Galilee, which means I think that she's going to be okay.
What about Jerusalem?
Right now, it's perfectly fine, but
It's right by the West Bank.
It's right by the West Bank. And if that stays, I mean, Israel has placed a lot of attention on the West Bank prior to October 7th, and you have seen things going on in the West Bank, but you haven't seen a flat-out intifada-like uprising coming out of the West Bank. And so if that stays the same, then Jerusalem is going to be spared. If things change, then who knows? Because Israel's fighting a war on 4 fronts, by the way, 4 fronts. Gaza right now is the least complicated front. Gaza is getting to the point of under control.
They're reducing ground operations and airstrikes.
Yeah, they are, correct. And Gaza's, it's the most complicated because what on earth are they going to do now moving forward? But in terms of its threat, it's becoming less and less of a threat. Gaza is now becoming very much disabled. However, Hezbollah is not. They are strong and a concern. That's the north. That's why everyone in the north is left. Hezbollah is also in Syria, so that's why the Golan is threatened. The West Bank is a tinderbox, and who knows if what's gonna happen there. Right now, we're just kind of holding our breath and hoping things just stay steady, but that could be a problem. And then Yemen, and the Houthis in Yemen are shooting missiles at Eilat. So 4 fronts. It's disturbing.
Do you think we're going to get the hostages out?
No, I do not. I think we might get another batch out, maybe 30 more. But I don't think so. Like, that would be, first of all, I think if maybe let's say there's 130 or 140 hostages still there, you have to assume that
half of them are dead.
Half of them are already dead, and of that other half, they don't know where they are. They're being kept in captivity in some private house, which happened in a lot of cases because people thought that when they took a hostage that it was like it was like a lottery ticket for them. And oh, by the way, one other thing that I learned, which is really disturbing to me, which was that the sheer number of civilians from Gaza that came shooting into Israel on October 7th described to me like ants, in which they overtook the whole area, looting and stealing. And again, I don't know specifically who these people are or were, but it was not just militants. It was overrun also by just people coming in and just stealing. Yeah.
There are no innocents over there.
No, there might be. I had this huge argument with my daughter yesterday about this, in which I take a much closer position to you, but she's much more open to the possibility that there are innocent people there. And she's right. There are innocent people, but that doesn't mean, but the problem is that there are a lot of people who are labeled as citizens who are not innocent. Civilians who are truly militants.
Complicit.
Yeah, at minimum complicit, but even much more. So that's what's complicated about it. But what's really hard is we don't know how to figure that out. It's a real pickle. I mean, because I really go between my true feelings of human rights and making sure that the Gazans, people who are innocent, are not harmed, at least more than they need to be, and yet, or more than just kind of the circumstances deem, and yet at the same time, I also question, like, they talk about how when the hostages were moved from one place to another by militant Hamas, they had to dress them in burqas, because if the citizens saw them, they'd kill them. And the militant Hamas knew that they wanted to keep them alive because they were hostages. And if they were killed, they lost the value of that hostage. And so the militant Hamas knew that we need to keep these people alive. Militant Hamas was protecting the Israeli hostages from the citizens of Gaza. It's a striking thing.
How do we know this?
What's that?
Yeah, well, that's my question. How do we know this? That's right.
Yeah, how do we know that?
I was told by the
Released hostages.
well, yeah, we learned from the released hostages. I learned this out when I was at that army base.
Well, if Dave is right, and the
About
Hamas,
no one's innocent there, I think he's exaggerating.
Well, I heard an interview.
Everybody is guilty. I mean, come on.
No. Dave said that the Hamas leader surrounding himself with these hostages.
Right.
So we can't get him.
Right.
So somebody has to make a decision about nailing him or protecting the hostages.
Or coming up with a third solution.
You know, Rabbi,
Yeah.
the British didn't worry about collateral damage in
Well, they
Dresden, and the US
Or
didn't
Munich.
worry about collateral damage in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. I don't know why
Well, you
Israelis
can't-
have to worry about collateral damage.
Because it's about right and wrong. It's, just because other people did something which was, because do we think that it was okay for us to put, we certainly ended the threat of Japan with those nuclear weapons, but we killed a lot of innocent people. Does that make it right? Oppenheimer didn't think it was, when he realized what he had done, he was horrified.
But if you don't take care of them now, you'll be doing the same thing in 10 years.
I agree that we are kicking the can down the road. I'm only just saying that just because I have used the Dresden, Munich, Hiroshima, Nagasaki analogy too, and I struggle with it because I don't think it was right. Britain carpet bombed Dresden because it was cathartic for them. Is that correct? I mean, it was because after what the Nazis had done to London, that they felt like, what were they just going to do? Say, okay, everything is fine. No, we're going to go in there and wipe Dresden off of the map just because of what you did to London. But that doesn't make it right. It just makes it, we can understand it from a human place and say, yeah, all right. I mean, they went through so much pain that they almost needed to do this for its own people, to give them a sense of, but that's a terrible reason to do something. And so that doesn't mean, so again, I struggle. I don't think, as much as I think that it would be wrong for Great Britain and America to judge Israel if it did something, because we would say, oh, it's easy for you to judge us. You have no problem when you did it yourself. But at the same time, I struggle. I don't know if it's right or wrong.
Rabbi,
Yes.
how is the political situation now different from when you were there before?
Well, there's much more unity, but they're just starting now, and I mean really just starting now, to start protesting Netanyahu. We were at last week, so a week ago Saturday, so I guess that would be 9 days ago.
Can I add a comment?
They were
Can I add a quick
protesting
comment?
Netanyahu again for the first time, or not, but in a major way for the first time. Yes.
Somebody wants to talk.
Can I add a quick comment? In my view, I doubt that there are any people who are adults living in Gaza who were not aware that they had tunnels and who were not aware that they had armaments there, including under schools, mosques, and hospitals. That they were complicit because they all know. As to whether they were explicit in helping Hamas, that's something different. But I think it's likened to World War II. It's doubtful that people didn't know what was going on. And I think everybody in Gaza.
I think you're right, but at the same time, does that, if you're complicit because you know about something, up to what point would it be okay to punish them? Like, what is the punishment for knowing? Right? Is the punishment for knowing getting killed? Is the punishment for knowing being placed into refugee status for the rest of your life? Is the punishment for knowing? Right. What's the punishment? Like, I agree that they're all complicit.
But they're not innocents.
They're not innocent. They're not innocent. But then again, it's like maybe they are. But what could they have done? Like, and trust me, I'm not here to be defending. Like, I
agree.
My anger.
I agree.
What could they have done?
Well, you said they looted and.
Yes, so those people for sure, but that wasn't all of Gaza. That wasn't. Yes, there were many people, strikingly large numbers. So I'm agreeing, but I'm just saying, like, there were a fair number of people in Gaza who knew about it, as you point out correctly, who were, I would even say, abetting to some degree. If they were allowing someone to come and shoot from their rooftop, even if you're not pulling the trigger, you're abetting and aiding that. But at the same time, there are a fair number of people who knew full well about the tunnels underneath the hospitals and underneath everywhere. But who are they going to report this to?
Well, the UN relief agencies knew it too.
They don't. Yeah, that's true too. But who are they reporting this to? They can't report it to their own leadership. They'll be immediately murdered. I mean, we know what Hamas did to its rivals in 2004. The Palestinian Authority came in and Hamas just murdered its rivals. It's like to say that. I'm with you. I'm very angry, but at the same time, I struggle because I know that there are many Gazans who did not have any alternative. They just had to sit there, know about it, be frustrated, but just stay silent because the alternative was be killed for speaking up. And I agree. As you point out, reporting it to the UN isn't going to do anything. So
they're in a tough place. Couldn't do anything.
Right, it's a tough place. It just makes this whole situation very complicated.
What about the role of the Pope?
Lately, he's been talking about how the innocents, and he wants the ceasefire and the innocents. I think he means well. I don't think the Pope is. I think the Pope's a good man.
He knows the reality of the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you one of the things, I didn't show you a picture. One of the powerful, I wanted to get the text. One of the powerful things was we went to a demonstration in front of the director of the Red Cross's apartment. This person has one of the nicest, most beautiful places in all of Israel. They're living in Jaffa in this gorgeous penthouse apartment, the director of the Red Cross for the Middle East Affairs, right? And that Red Cross, it will be seen weeping with the Gazan people, but hasn't done a thing about the hostages. Not even identifying if they're living or dead. Nothing.
They got expelled from Israel.
Well, that's what the protesters sitting in front of that apartment saying, like, shame on you. You've got one job. And you're doing the one job for the Gazans and not at all for the Israel. And here you are living in this absolutely gorgeous apartment in the middle of Yafo, Tel Aviv, on the water. It's stunning.
Rabbi, what's the difference between the Red Cross and the Red Crescent? Are they related?
I think they claim that they do the same thing, but it's two different nations.
But then the Israeli Red Cross is different.
Right. We're talking about the International Red Cross. Right. And it's but their job, like, yes, they escorted hostages back, or they helped to kind of make that transfer of hostages. But we haven't seen, like, they don't, like, there are people, these hostages of ours are sick and they haven't gotten their medicines, and this one person was operated on by a veterinarian. Right? It's like, it's striking. And the Red Cross, not a single word about the suffering of the Jews, of the Israelis, or those who are taken hostage who aren't Jews. And yet, they're taking pictures and selfies with kids in hospitals from Gaza. I'm not saying that they shouldn't care about the people from Gaza. They should. I'm just saying, it's like, where's the as they claim, the neutrality? There's none. Living in this. Anyway, let's go back to this text so I can give me some good to talk about. All right. So after he blessed Ephraim and Manasseh, we're on verse 21. Then Israel said to Joseph, I am about to die, but God will be with you and bring you back to the land of your fathers. And now I assign to you one portion more than to your brothers, which I wrested from the Amorites with my sword and bow. Okay, so, well, there's a lot that was just said in this verse, right? So let's start with the part about how it says that I'm about to die, but God will be with you and bring you back to the land of your fathers. So Jacob is making a statement and a premonition about what's going to happen to the Israelite people. And that is that we will not be in Egypt permanently. But also, it's saying that that Joseph himself will be brought back, should go back to Israel and not be buried in Egypt. And then one other thing which is really interesting and curious. And it says, and now I assign to you one portion more than to your brothers. Now we know about how Ephraim and Manasseh both are tribes and they have land in Israel, right? We know that. We also know that Jacob favored Joseph, so, it shouldn't come as that much of a surprise that he would give double the inheritance to his own family. And further, when it comes to inheritance principles, that the oldest child does get, or the favored child, but it's usually the oldest child that gets the double portion. But in this particular case, it's bucking with tradition and not going to the oldest child, which would be, remember, Reuben. And then it's neither going to the second or third, Simeon or Levi, not even going to the fourth, Judah, but rather skipping all the way over.
Well, it is going to the oldest
son of
Rachel.
Rachel, that's correct. And now the other part, which is really interesting, is I assign to you one portion more than to your brothers. One portion. Okay? So
they have to split.
What's that?
That they have to split.
Well, one portion more than to your brothers. So every brother gets one, you get two. But the Hebrew says, and if you look at it, it says, remember verse 22 in the Hebrew, it says, Va'ani natati lecha, and I give to you Shechem echad. And it's translated as echad one and Shechem portion. But my presumption is you may know what the word Shechem is, and as something else. Does anyone know the word name Shechem?
Could be the city of Shechem where Shimon and Levi massacred people.
Right, so Shechem is Nablus, modern day Nablus, but putting that aside, Shechem is the place where Shimon and Levi murdered all of those the people of Shechem who all agreed to circumcise themselves because the prince Shechem wanted to marry Dinah. And as a way of saying yes, as a quid pro quo, fine, but everyone needs to circumcise. And then they murdered everybody. So it says, and I for myself give to you, one Shechem Echad.
I always wondered why it was that Dinah was allowed to walk around unaccompanied by men.
What do you think?
It was wrong. There's got to be a man with her to protect her.
Yeah, she snuck away because yeah, they were seeing each other. It's not a rape. It was they loved each other. But it could be but it could also be, instead of portion, it could also be an I, for myself, give to you Shechem, that place of Shechem. Your brothers took it, and they disgraced me during it, but can't deny that it's mine, and now I'm giving that place to you. It's just kind of interesting that they're using the word Shechem there. It's like, and it's a and also Shechem, by the way, is the place where Joseph was going to go meet up with his brothers. Remember when his brothers left, and that's how Joseph got into the pit, was he was heading to Shechem. Turned out the brothers weren't in Shechem, they were in a place called Dotan, but he went to Shechem, and then he met this mysterious man who pointed him in the correct direction, and that was Shechem also. I don't think that let me say it differently. I think that sometimes it's intentional, the word choice, and it's done to kind of evoke memories.
And who are the Amorites?
They were living in that area. So the point is that the rest of the line is talking about the Amorites who were living in Shechem at the time. Yeah. So chapter 49. And this is a very fascinating chapter because it will be shockingly surprising, right? Because this is known as the chapter in which Jacob blesses his children. But the irony is they are hardly blessings. They are premonitions, prophecies. They are statements of truth, at least as Jacob believes them to be. But if you think of it as a blessing, it's hardly. It's like Dave, if you were to say to me, Rabbi, give me a blessing, and I were to say, you are a sniveling, backstabbing. It's like, thanks for the lovely blessing, and thank you, sir. Can I have another? Right? It's what it is, and you'll see. It's like, that's the blessing. I shouldn't have even asked. So Jacob called his sons and said, "Come together, that I may tell you what is to befall you in the days to come." Again, more of a prediction or a premonition or a prophecy. So he says, "Assemble and hearken, O sons of Jacob. Hearken to Israel, your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn." So he's going to go in order. Here we go. First blessing. "My might and first fruit of my vigor, exceeding in rank and exceeding in honor. You're my firstborn," which means you are the highest rank and highest honor. "Unstable as water, you shall excel no longer. For when you mounted your father's bed, you brought disgrace. My couch he mounted." Right? Remember when we talked about it a number of times. It's true. When he slept with Bilhah, his father's concubine, it was a staggeringly changing moment. Excuse me. So that's Reuben's blessing. Shimon and Levi, they'll get a good one too, I'm sure, huh? "They are a pair. Their weapons are tools of lawlessness. Let not my person be included in their counsel. Let not my being be counted in their assembly." Like anyone who wants me any club that wants me as a member, I don't want to be a part of that club. "For when angry, they slay men, and when pleased, they maim oxen." When they're mad, they kill people, and when they're happy, they kill animals. Cursed be their anger so fierce and their wrath so relentless. I will divide them in Jacob, scatter them in Israel.
What a disjointed family.
Yep, what a lovely blessing from father to sons. Now, so interesting, right? Shimon and Levi, what do we know about Levi or the Levites?
They were priests.
They were priests, that's correct. They were also, in terms of land and in Israel, they don't have land. They're the one tribe, this is Levi, that has no land. Instead, they live in everybody else's land. Now, I can tell you why I think that to be historically the case. I believe it's because every other tribe was already in Israel at the time, and the Levites were us coming out of Egypt. And so we didn't go and occupy, take over our tribes, all of Israel. Instead, we went in, conquered Israel, and then put our people in the various different locations. Why? Because they were the Levites, the priests, the one who ministered to the sacrifice and to the rituals, the cultic rituals. And so we, if we were instituting a new, let's say, religion, then we needed to have representation in all places. That's my opinion.
I'm a Levite.
Mazel tov. I wear Levi jeans. So now, what about the Shimonites, the Simeonites? They have their own territory, right? Kind of. Do we have, who's got a Tanakh? Not a Torah, but a Tanakh. Let me borrow this for 1 second. Thank you. So in the book of Joshua, so remember, Joshua is right after Deuteronomy. And then this is what it says. This is Joshua 19. The second lot fell to Shimon. The portion of the tribe of the Simeonites by their clans lay inside the portion of the Judites. So in Joshua, they're talking about where the various different tribes are living. And they say that the portion of the Simeonites lie within the portion of the Judites, the Judah's tribe of Judah. Their portion comprised Beersheba or Sheba, Molada, Hazor, blah, 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 blah. The portion, now verse 9, the portion of the Simeonites was part of the territory of the Judites. Since the share of the Judites was larger than they needed, the Simeonites received a portion inside that portion. In other words, thank you here. So in other words, so also, in addition to the Levites being scattered, kind of so were the Simeonites to some degree, part of another tribe. And let's just read a little bit more because we're now past. You, O Judah, number 4, hoping we're going to get a good one for Judah. He's been pretty good lately, right? He's been kind of the number one guy. You, O Judah, your brothers shall praise. Your hand shall be on the nape of your foes. Your father's sons shall bow low to you.
Oh boy.
That's great. Already starting up again, meaning you are going to be the leader of the clan. And he kind of is, right? We're called Jews to this day. Judah is a lion's whelp. On prey, my son, have you grown? He crouches, lies down like a lion, like the king of beasts. Who dare rouse him? Who dare rouse him? The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, so that tribute shall come to him, and the homage of peoples be his. There's a lot of interesting stuff here, right? So Judah is the first person to get a pretty good blessing, I'd say. And he compares Judah to a lion.
Lion of Judah.
The Lion of Judah, right? And interesting also, the lion is a symbol of being a ruler. Right?
King of the beasts.
Yeah, that's true. But think about this. If you if you just took a little stroll over to Cairo and then went to the neighboring town of Giza, and you took a look at those 3 beautiful pyramids, Cheops, Khephren, and Macarius, and then right in front of those 3 pyramids, there's this really interesting symbol, and it's this thing called the Sphinx. And what's the Sphinx? a lion. The lion is a symbol of leadership, especially in that area, and the Lion of Judah. And so clearly this is a very, very positive blessing. But there is one interesting Hebrew little nuance here, which I want to show you. That is this, the last part. It says, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, so that tribute shall come to him and the homage of peoples be his. Right? Now the Hebrew for that is, for the part where so that tribute shall come from, ad ki yavo shilo velo yikhat hamim. So the part I want to pay attention to is ad ki yavo shilo. Now, the reason why this is interesting is because the reason why they translate it as it is because Shiloh means that which is his.
Also, it's the name of the sanctuary.
But spelled slightly differently, but same pronunciation, is the name of the town in the Northern Kingdom, which is the capital city of the Northern Kingdom. And that's fascinating because if you read it as the
Ark of the Covenant was stationed.
Yes. If you read it as the scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, so that tribute shall come to him, and homage of peoples be his. That's one way of reading it. Another way of reading it is, scepter shall not depart from him, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until you come to Shiloh, and homage of peoples be his. Until you come to Shiloh. So you're going to be Judah. It's almost as if this was written by one of the people of the Northern Kingdom. It's like, yes, Judah, you are special until we get our people, the people of Jeroboam, who are in the Northern Kingdom and located in Shiloh. That's when things stop. Like, right, that's a very interesting possible different read on that. And the Hebrew is shows because it suggests that there was a question about the spelling, because the Septuagint reads it as I'm trying to remember which one's which. But one text says, writes it in one way, and the other ancient biblical version writes it in a second way. So therefore, it's not clear which way it should be read. Does that make sense what I'm kind of describing here? And you can see in the Hebrew, it points it out. Remember, this is the second to last line of that paragraph before verse 11. You can see ad ki yavo, that's all normal. And then it gives Shiloh, Shiloh, because one spelled with a hey at the end and one spelled with a vav at the end. And depending on which way you spell it, that determines how you should read this text. And I guess that it was the Masoretic text, which says Shiloh, that which is his, but it was the ancient, I guess, Septuagint, Targum that read it as Shiloh until you reach Shiloh. I hope that you understand kind of the distinction here. It's a really fascinating distinction. All right, so a few minutes for, yes.
The title Lion of Judah was one of the titles of the emperors of Ethiopia, Haile Selassie and his line.
That's interesting.
They claimed that.
So, all right, so next week, is it
Martin Luther King?
Martin Luther King. So we're not meeting next week, but the week after. So next week is the 5th. So it's the 22nd. We meet again on the 22nd. However, the Sages class will meet both this tomorrow and the next week. It's not affected by Martin Luther King Day.
We meet the 22nd.
Core study meets up again on the 22nd. Thank you, everybody. Good to see you.